What is a demon by any other name? How many MacGuffins can exist in one universe? Can movies survive a possessed Frenchman? Are the Warrens necessary for a franchise? Here's a hint. No, they're not. Make sure to drink your wine, avoid baths, and try not to die of cholera. Welcome to They Mostly Pottered at Night. Mostly, I am Salem, joined by my co-host Graveyard.
Hello.
This is episode 59 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. Join us as we dare to speak Valak's name, get drowned in wine, and avoid a mother's curse. Warning, spoilers are ahead for the NUN II. I know that just came out recently as of this recording.
Yes.
I believe it just came out.
Recording.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it came out just came out. Like, we didn't even wait a week. It was like that day.
Yep.
Yeah, so we saw that. This is the Nun, the NUN II, and the Curse of La Llorona.
Yes, finishing off our stupid long Conjuring universe.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it can't
trilogy.
go fast enough. I am tired of it. I mean, to be fair, I guess a little bit of a spoiler here. These are the best movies of the franchise.
Oh, absolutely.
Surprising. But I guess it's good to go on. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're not going to knock any top 10 lists out or anything like that. They're not great, but they are the best of these. How many are there? 30, 40 movies? It feels like I watched 40.
Right now, 9.
Yeah.
With the 10th one coming out next year. Supposedly the last one. Supposedly.
Well, the last one in the main Conjuring timeline.
Right. Until Patrick Wilson?
Yeah.
Wants to, revisit it in 10 years. Who knows?
Well, I'm just saying, like, there could be other spin-offs. They could continue with the Nun. They could continue with Annabelle.
And I'm going to say this right now. With the powerhouse that is the Conjuring universe, for them not to do an Amityville movie seems really weird.
Well, okay. I mean, me and you have talked about this. There's a lot of Amityville movies. Because Amityville, like, the word Amityville is not, like, copyrighted.
No.
So, how many movies did we figure out? There's hundreds, right? There's hundreds of movies.
Oh, yeah.
That mention or use Amityville in some way. Like, all you have to do is say Amityville and have the picture of the house with those two windows that look like eyes. That's it. It doesn't matter what else it is. That'll sell, like, I guess, some copies because they keep doing it. Like, they have, like, Amityville in space, and on the cover of it is the house with
space.
those windows somehow, right? And I don't know how that works in space, but it does. But yeah,
I believe Amityville is also the town in Jaws. Was it not?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it was just Amity?
Yeah.
I know it's Amity.
I think it was like Amity Island.
Okay.
Because I think it was like an island or something.
Yes. Hopefully, yeah. I'm surprised they just didn't do their own take and fold into their $2 billion universe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, they might. Maybe that's the last one they're going to do.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's Amity Island, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get into this then, shall we?
Oh, you want to get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, 3 movies: The Nun, The Curse of La Llorona, NUN II. The Nun, first Nun, came out in 2018.
Yep.
Okay, so trying to think. I mean, it opens with 2 nuns running down like a creepy hallway.
Yes.
I mean, I could literally hear at this scene when I was playing. I could literally hear, like, the Riff Tracks guys in the back of my head saying, like, 3rd floor.
Yeah, all right.
Like, fog machines and broken doors, because, like, that's literally, it was like a hallway lined with broken doors and candles, and there was, like, fog all over the
Oh, and like 200 crosses as well.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I knew it was like something in fog machine.
Yes.
But yeah, so okay, so they get down to this thing and they're all like apparently scared to go where they're going. They go to the end of this hallway. There's a sign that said "God ends here." And then the one lady is like, "Come on, be brave. We got to go get the relic." And she opens the door with a key, and then immediately is grabbed by something inside.
In fairness to that key, no one's picking that lock.
Well, it's an old ass lock. I'm sure you could pick it.
I'm just saying, it looks like one of those pretzel squares.
Well, it looked like a comb. Like,
it did.
There was that many teeth on the key. It looked like a comb.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one lady gets, dragged in there, and of course, I don't know, who knows what's going on. It's blackness in there until eventually she, jump scares back out, hands the other younger nun the key, and says, like, you know what you have to do.
Yep.
So the door closes, and then the other nun runs away, and she gets up into her room and closes and locks the door, and of course, whatever it is throws the door open and coming after her, and so she wraps a rope around her head and then jumps out the window and hangs herself.
Which I'm surprised it looked like that crappy ass chair that she was connecting was not gonna, hold its spot. She was just gonna fall down and break her legs.
Right. So yeah, well, it succeeds. She gets hung. And then our Frenchman enters. Our Frenchman named Frenchie.
Well, his name is Maurice.
Well, his name is Maurice, but everybody calls him Frenchie. In this movie, they call him Frenchie. And the NUN II, they call him Maurice. Yeah.
Call me
the other
Frenchie.
movie, they call him. So he comes up like delivering supplies to the nuns, because I guess he does it like quarterly or something. And he goes to deliver, and then he sees this, bloody dead nun hanging from the window.
Yes, with her face being eaten off.
By crows. Like, yeah, jaw is gone and everything. It's gory. There's blood all over the stairs.
Yep.
So then we cut to the Vatican with I don't think the Pope himself is there, but it looks like a bunch of cardinals are there.
Cardinal or archbishop or whatever. I don't
They have
remember
little
the
red
hierarchy.
They had little red hats. Little red hats mean cardinal.
Okay.
So the cardinal brings in this, like, kind of grizzled priest that they kind of mention as he's in that he was in the war. He was a chaplain in the war.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually, I can specify, this is 1952. So they're specifically talking about World War II, which just ended, a few years before this movie started. So I guess he is like kind of the church's go-to guy when it comes to like investigating miracles or phenomena, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he essentially assigns him to go check out this place, which we find out at that point is in Romania. Now, they randomly, appears to be randomly, assign him a nun as his assistant. And he has to go, because he's in the Vatican, which is in Italy.
Yes.
And he has to go all the way to England to get this nun, who's not even a nun yet.
She hasn't said her...
Right. She's like,
vows.
yeah, she has to say her vows, but she hasn't finalized it. She's not even a nun. Like, why she's involved in this, we don't know. I mean, maybe fate is involved or whatever. So, he goes and recruits her. They say, oh, you should know this area. That they said that you know the area. And she said, I don't know the area at all. Great.
Right.
So you're coming anyway. There's like no reason as to why after that, but they do anyway, because, the Vatican said so.
Right.
So they go to Romania. They meet up with Frenchie, who is now recruited to be their guide up to the convent, monastery. I mean, whatever it is, it's a huge castle.
Yeah.
And it looks like, it literally looks like Dracula's castle. I mean, it's like,
oh, absolutely,
it's huge. But it's funny. Like, okay, well, this is one of my points I'm going to bring up later. Is like, not everything in Romania has to look like an evil Dracula castle.
What?
Like, there are regular places in Romania. I know it's hard to believe in the horror world, but like, for real, there are normal places in Romania. I swear. So anyway, so they go up to the place. He's like, oh, this is where I found the lady hanged. At least this was weeks ago at this point. And they go up there, and the blood is like still fresh on the stairs. And they're like, well, how is that possible? I'm like, well, I don't know.
It's not.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not, but yeah. So they go in, and there's like nobody there, and they're like looking around, and all of a sudden, like this weird lady appears who's like dressed all in black with like even a black veil over her face, so you can't see her face or basically like what she is doing or anything. Like just a human figure in black veiled darkness. So they basically say, "Oh, you're the Reverend Mother?" She's like, "Oh yeah, sure."
Right.
Okay, so yeah, we need to like tour the place. Like, you had a nun here commit suicide. That's like the ultimate sin. Why would a nun commit the ultimate sin? We got to investigate. And she's like, "Oh, they're getting ready for the night. I guess they're doing some kind of like."
The abbey's closed.
Yeah, well, yeah. Essentially, that's what she's saying. But they're doing some kind of rite of silence, to where they're not going to speak from sundown to sun up.
Right.
So you have to come back tomorrow. So okay. So they go sleep in the convent, which is apparently another building. Yep. Why the nuns aren't staying in the convent, I don't know. But the nuns are in the big castle. They sleep in the convent. Of course, at night, monsters and ghosts start attacking them.
Things start happening. Yeah.
Right. The priest. Is this the point where he goes?
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes he gets like lured by the ghost into the graveyard.
Now, in fairness, he was sleeping like a maniac in his clothes on top of the blankets.
Oh, I would be too, dude. Where they're at? Like, okay, I'm in a room with a weird, creepy French dude, a nun in like a weird haunted convent. Yeah, I'm not putting on pajamas.
Oh, Frenchie went home.
Oh yeah, no, he did.
Yeah,
whatever. So it's me and a weird nun that I just met sleeping
right
in a convent. Like, I don't blame him for sleeping on top of the blankets with all his clothes on. I don't blame him at all. Anyway, so he goes to this the graveyard. He kind of gets like tricked and pushed back into what was an open grave, and as soon as he lands inside the coffin closes. It then becomes a grave that has been buried for a long time, like no fresh dirt or nothing. Now he's just somehow phased through the ground into this coffin. But there's a little scene before where they're talking about the ringing of the bells when people were buried. They would ring the little bell to say that, hey, I'm still alive down here, you got to dig me back up, because people were scared of being buried alive back then. So they did a little scene earlier where they displayed that. So anyway, he's in there, he grabs a little bell, he's ringing it. Somehow the nun, she has like a vision that she needs to like help him. She sees her ghosts too.
Oh yeah.
And the ghosts, kind of, at least wake her up, lead her around a little bit. And anyway, she gets back into the graveyard, and she finds the priest somehow. Even though there's like multiple little bells ringing all over the place, she somehow figures out which one is the real one.
Right, because she also has the powers of Lorraine Warren in this movie. Well, essentially.
Well, again, hers seem a bit more grounded. Like, at least she just can like see visions of stuff. She doesn't necessarily know what they mean.
Right.
She just sees visions, which is like the standard definition of a vision. Lorraine Warren is just like, psychic.
Yes.
She knows all. So she like somehow like all, 90 pounds of her digs up the priest, saves his life. She's like, how'd you get in there? He's like, I don't know. I mean, okay, how'd you get in there is one thing. Two, how the hell were you in there? And the earth was not disturbed at all around you.
Right.
That would be more disturbing to me.
Yes.
Like, obviously something supernatural is at work here, but they're kind of like, whatever. Let's just go back to sleep and then get our work done. Okay. So they go back to sleep. They go back in the morning. And they're like, okay, we're going to split up and we're going to work on stuff. Cause inside the coffin that he was buried in, they found a bunch of like creepy old, books.
Yeah.
And so she goes into, the convent, and she's going to go talk to all the nuns and like interview them and stuff. And then he's going to like sit out in the lobby and read all these books and try to figure out what's going So we get a lot of scenes of her talking to nuns. They're obviously like weirdly like emotional. They have this like prayer vigil that they cannot stop. Like at
They haven't
least
stopped
one nun,
for hundreds of years.
yeah, like at least one nun has to be continually praying at this chapel forever. Like you can't,
Right.
interrupt them. That you can't stop them. They have to keep going. Sometimes there's more than one, but there always is at least one. So anyway, so she's interviewing the other nuns that are in the area,
right.
or that aren't praying at that current time. And she's getting a lot of hints as to like there's some kind of weirdness going on, but like she keeps getting interrupted. Like other nuns keep coming in saying like, "Oh, that's enough, that's enough," and they're like, "Oh, they don't want us to talk about it." But so she doesn't really get a whole lot of information. But she does basically figure out that however long ago there was some kind of guy who summoned a demon in some way, shape, or form.
I believe it was a pagan summoning. They said.
Well, yeah, they said it was a pagan ritual, but who knows what they mean by that? They don't give you any details. There was
remember,
clearly
this is Christian horror, so anything.
Well,
pagan.
I'm just saying there was clearly a pentagram on the ground.
Yes.
That would not be pagan.
Nope.
That would be satanic. That would be Christian still. Maybe on the other side of Christian, but still Christian.
Yes.
So yeah, there's like evil sacrifice where he kills all these people, and some demon comes up, and then they like. The Vatican heroes came in and banished the demon with the blood of Jesus.
Right.
And then somehow that relic is still being kept there at this creepy Dracula castle, and the nuns are in charge of watching over it. And also praying forever to make sure that this demon doesn't come back.
Yeah, the seal can't be, the seal is, crumbly as it is like the last ward of the seal, if
right.
You will.
Yeah. And so they have to constantly pray to make sure that nothing can come through.
Right.
So yeah, as she's in there and stuff like that, it basically gets to it gets too late, and the portcullis comes down, and she literally gets locked in. And the priest goes over and tries to go in there, and like, nope, sorry, visiting hours are over. Like, well, she's already in there. She's like, yep, she's gonna have to spend the night. There's like, nothing we can do. Portcullis is closed.
Hands are tied.
Right, yeah, nothing you can do. So he is, basically, he just like, okay, I guess I'll just read some more books.
Yep.
He just like hangs out, and they don't really. I don't think they explained what he does during this time.
No,
but he's just around.
Lore.
Right. So anyway, so she goes back up there and she tries to like go to sleep. She keeps getting woken up by stuff, and she goes out and she sees a nun praying. And then she sees like what looks like a body underneath the sheet next to the nun praying.
Yeah.
She's trying to talk to the nun. Obviously, the nun can't stop praying, so she goes over, pulls the blanket back, and there's a dead nun there. And so at that point, it's like stuff starts happening. All the other nuns realize what's going on, so they all come in and all start praying. It's like whatever is happening, the evil is coming back. We all have to pray to like stop it. That lasts all of like 5 seconds before a telekinetic blast comes through and just knocks all of the nuns out except for like 2 of them.
Yeah.
And they're praying. And yeah, basically they all end up being defeated, dying, whatever. And the one girl ends up kind of, I guess they say like she completed it or whatever, right? But at the end of it, she just realizes that those nuns were never there.
Right, because at this point in time, Frenchie was back in town, heard that, there's another hanging, and realizes there's a curse at this place, so he comes back, and so Frenchie and Father, whatever his name is,
Burke.
I don't remember, Burke, and go to rescue Sister Irene,
right?
And they burst in there, and they go, she's like, oh, these nuns, like, there's no one else here. Like, what?
Yeah, well, that was later. Like, I don't understand this scene because Frenchie's like, oh yeah, or no, yeah, the priest and Frenchie are both like, oh yeah, the delivery room, like that they used to go into the delivery room, which is like a big fridge, which I don't know how that worked because it's just underground. It doesn't make things freeze.
No.
But they did anyway. So they both come to this realization that, oh, it's the delivery room. And they both go down there and they like, have to fight off monsters and they save each other's life and stuff like that. But it is never explained as to why they went there or what the purpose of that was. They just left the delivery room not finding anything down there.
Right.
But they both had this epiphany that they needed to go down there. And it didn't matter. I don't know. I guess it's just a plot device to get them back. I don't know. But
yeah.
they don't. Yeah, there's nothing in there. Like, again, the priest gets this little clue in his crossword puzzle, like, oh yeah, deliveries. I need to go check that out. And they go down there, and it's like, yeah, the nun that was dead, like they had to fight it, and then that's it. Like that. Nothing else happens down there. I was like, okay, what is the point of this? Anyway, so yeah, this is the point where Sister Irene realizes that, she successfully prayed the thing away, but she also realized that all of those nuns were dead.
And have been dead for some time.
And have been dead, yeah, for some time, for a while. Anyway,
yeah.
All of the nuns were wiped out. And there was still one laying underneath the sheet dead, but it was obviously dead for a long time.
Right.
So whatever happened there, they missed it. So like the nun that was supposed to be sitting there praying all the time wasn't.
Yes.
So now we're introduced to whatever evil was being held down there is just awake.
Yep.
So then, that's when they all kind of realize, yeah, okay, this is bad. There's evil ghosts here. No one is actually here. This is just ghosts and stuff. So we need to figure this out. So they take the comb key and they figure out that one of her visions that said like Mary will point the way pointed her to where to put the key. Even though earlier in the movie they used the key to open up a door that was not this wall.
Yes.
Maybe it opens both. I don't know. So they open up this secret wall, which leads to that place that they were in before. It goes down into the hallway with the door that said "God ends here." And they go in there, and this is the room that they kind of hinted at earlier, that this is the ritual room where bad things happen. So they go in here, and of course there's like a secret pentagram on the ground, and monsters are coming out. Frenchie, he gets possessed, right?
Well, yeah, but before this, Sister Irene becomes full nun, which apparently requires laying down on the ground in the form of a cross.
Yeah, there was a weird. She was like laying down with her face against the ground.
Yes, I'm not sure that's the ritual, but
I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but this doesn't look like a nun ritual to me.
Yeah. Yes, but then ghosts ensue. The father sees the ghost of the kid that he thought was possessed, like burnt alive, or whatever it was. Daniel, he kept seeing.
Yeah, whatever it is. That's the reason why he's the guy that goes to check out miracle stuff, because he found a possessed kid at some point or something.
Yeah. Yep. Then the final battle.
Well, they get the relic, which changes hands like 10 times.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, then they get down there and they're fighting, and they kind of sort of break the relic, but then they don't, and then somehow the blood ends up in her mouth.
So at first she gets possessed. Frenchie goes like, no, take me, and so she starts choking him, and then they realize that she finally gets like the container that contains Jesus's blood, realize it's cracked open, and that's when like Irene just comes out and just spits it in Valak's face.
Right. But like, okay, when you look at the relic was like a circular glass ball.
Yep.
With like a glass cross in the middle of it that had the blood inside of it.
Yes.
Now, when you looked at it, it was broken. There was just a hole in the side of it.
Yes.
And the blood was somehow, the cross was still there, but the blood was missing out of it. I don't know how. Is she like a glass vampire?
I don't know. Maybe it's like one of those wax soda pops. You just bite the end off and suck on the juice.
Just saying. But I'm pretty sure that keeping Jesus's blood in your mouth and then spitting it out is, I'm pretty sure, some kind of sacrilege or something.
I would say so.
But not only that, but like she took her full vows as a nun, which means she's supposed to be the wife of Jesus now.
Yep. And
she spits and doesn't swallow it. That's not
exactly.
It's a big sin in my book.
Yes.
So yeah, then whatever, Valak. We only know they don't never say Valak's name in this.
Well,
But-
because if they knew it, it'd be much easier.
They didn't ask. I mean, that's the whole thing. You just got to ask.
Right.
Yeah, and so then, I mean, I believe, then that's it. I mean, we had a little scene at the end where we see like there's a upside down cross and the back of Frenchie's neck, somehow meaning that it's not over.
Right, and then we do see it's the demon that was the one thing that the exorcism that Ed Warren had performed that was led to in the first Conjuring movie was apparently Maurice, and this is their footage of him being possessed and them trying to, do the exorcism where Ed wasn't supposed to be doing it other than that one potential case. And then it just ties in right into the first Conjuring movie 20 years later.
Right, which contradicts what happens in the second movie.
Absolutely, yes. Hands down.
But yes. So they retconned their own universe to ham fist this scene in there. And then when they make a sequel to this movie, they don't even keep that as like canon. It immediately goes away.
Yeah.
Because they instead use that to make a whole nother plot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are very fast and loose with their...
But I mean, to be fair, it was a different director.
Yeah. So yeah, end of movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were this is your first time seeing it, as all these are. What was your first thought on this movie?
I mean, as it was going along, basically the first thought was like, could this possibly be a good movie? Like there's all kinds of hints. Like, I mean, the setup is good and everything. I mean, overall, it's not bad. I think that the ending takes away a lot.
Yes.
But I mean, it's still better than all of the Conjuring and all of the Annabelle movies combined. For sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it's interesting enough. I mean, again, they don't follow any of the rules that are brought up in The Conjuring, which is, I don't know why they bothered stating all these rules. Every movie breaks them.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, again, they just kind of go outside of that. I mean, there is, kind of sort of the tie back to Ed and Lorraine, but it's not much of one. And they try to have the movie stand on its own most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was just kind of surprised that it was better than the other one. I expected this one to be worse.
Well, they're quite ham-fisted with the religious implications of all the movies, but yet the ones that deal with religion the most, which is these three movies, don't really care that much, like to be ham-fisted with it.
Well, and that's the thing is, I don't mind religion being involved in horror. That's fine with me. There's quite a few movies that do that I like. It just, don't use shitty fucking huckster people as your Christian hero when they're obviously not, and they were like literally working against like modern society with their horse shit. So that pissed me off. So, but I mean, these movies, I mean, I think, this one stands by itself pretty well. I mean, it's not, it's not great, but it's not as bad as the other ones. So,
yeah, and on the rewatch, it's definitely better. Like I said, having now watched all 9 within a couple of week period here, you can definitely see the big differences of this universe and how loose and fast they play with their own rules. And, I think The Nun did a good thing by setting it far enough away except for the ending of the Warrens to be its own thing. It didn't take place in the 70s or early 80s like the Conjuring universe has typically been up until this point. I do find it. I'll say that in my low point, but yeah, it's definitely better. Yeah, I didn't want that time. Yeah, I understand they explained this is how they got to learn who Valak is, and the Frenchie possess is what gave Professor Xavier Warren his ability to her ability to see the future where Ed dies. Like they reshot, they didn't shoot any new scenes, so that was nice. We for it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they did like CGI the guy in there, and like,
Oh, absolutely.
again, I don't know why. I get that they're trying to tie it into the universe in some way, but if you're gonna do that, why bother? Why did you make a second movie that literally contradicts that? I mean, I guess you could have a third one where he somehow gets repossessed, I guess, but
I mean, it's entirely possible. All right, so why don't you start with your highlights first?
Highlights. And again, I liked how the monastery was like an old, creepy vampire castle. Again, because it was in Romania, so everything has to look like a creepy old vampire castle.
Right.
The books that the Father Burke was reading, the ones that he found in the grave, the designs of that were pretty cool. Yes. Like the writing and the drawings and everything. They were pretty cool. They looked like, demonology textbooks.
Yeah.
They were pretty good. I mean, and the effects in this movie I thought were better. They weren't as cheesy. They were just I guess more traditional standard. Like I like how they did the shadows.
Oh yeah.
This one and the zombie nuns were done pretty well, I thought.
Yeah. What'd you think of the acting in this?
I mean, it was okay. I mean, I don't think there was any standouts, but there wasn't any people that, made me groan either. I mean, I think they did a passable job.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Any other highlights?
Nope.
All right. For me, I agree with you. The prop department did great. Like, everything really up until this point, like the atmosphere, the time period seems very accurate. And I still think it's whole truth. Like you can see the castle, like, okay, I can see this being in the old country of Romania. Easily see that. And it feels that way too. So, the location, the guy who found the locations, the prop designers were really on point again in this movie. It is, I think I said this after, and I'll say that, after watching NUN II, but the Mother Superior in this, it felt like she could have been one of the three madres from Argento's movies. Like it had that feel of atmospherically of not obviously vibrant colors, but of an Argento movie to me. And I could easily have seen this fit into like the Three Mothers, because the Mother Superior kind of reminded me a bit of, I guess a combination of the mother from Suspiria and did we watch? We haven't watched the Third Mother yet.
Well, that one just came out recently.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like I said, the design was good. The shadow work was amazing, and and be able to see and just change with the shadow shapes of Valak as she's moving through. And for the most part, there's not ghost knocks all the time in this movie, so that's good too.
Yeah, I mean, there was some shut doors, but not.
Yes, there are self-locking doors.
Right. And every movie has that.
Yes. What about low points for you, though?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, there's too much Ed and Lorraine Warren in this movie. I hate Ed and Lorraine Warren a lot. I didn't understand that whole first scene. I get that they're introducing like the monster or whatever, but they're like, oh, we'll go in here. The relic will help us. They open the door and she just immediately dies. Like,
yes,
why would you think you could go in there if that's where like the evil is? I don't know. I didn't understand the point of that, but whatever. I guess they were just trying to show that the monster was there, and they're trying to open it up, I suppose. There's the problem that I have with this is Romania was a major kind of player in World War II.
Yes.
They were one of those countries that pulled an Italy. So where in the beginning of the war, they were on one side, and then towards the end of the war, they were on another side. And they did get bombed. That is true.
Yes.
But why would they bomb a monastery in the middle of nowhere?
They are probably housing soldiers.
They were not.
I'm just saying that.
But they purposely said many times in this movie, they're in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
There's nothing there. They had to like take horses to get there because it's so far away, right? And they had to walk because the horse was too scared to go there. So there's not even like real roads.
Yes.
Which means they are miles away from even a moderately sized town. Yeah. Why the hell would they be bombing, one, a monastery, or two, nowhere near a civilized area? That's not how you bomb things. You don't just bomb random locations in the country.
I'm gonna bomb this field. Why?
Right. You have targets. I'm not saying that the bombs were accurate back then, but you know what? I'm pretty sure when they released bombs, they at least went inside the area of the city that they were trying to hit. Right. I mean, we're talking. It may be miles off target. I'm not saying that the bombs in this area were accurate in any way. They were not. But right. I'm pretty sure like 100 miles away is a little much because they showed the planes and they were like in perfect bombing formation and purposely dropping bombs on this thing. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They could have just said it was old.
Yep.
It's old. It's falling apart. We don't have people here to fix it because we're in the middle of nowhere. Problem solved. Why did they have to talk about this bombing thing? They like had to bring the war into it for some stupid reason. I don't understand what that was all about.
Yeah.
That to me was dumb. To the blood of Christ. If you actually had the blood of Christ, it would not be at some random monastery in the middle of Romania.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't care if there was an active demon there or not. That's not where it would be kept.
It's in the vault in the Vatican.
It would be in the actual blood of Christ. Like, sure, they got reliquaries and parts of, stuff and, finger bones and, stuff like that all over the place. Sure. Yeah. Like pieces of saints and stuff. Yeah. Those were scattered all over the place. But if you had the blood of Jesus and it like had like for sure powers, especially if it had already worked to banish a demon before, I guarantee you it would not be in some random place in the middle of Romania. And if it was, there would be a great many people watching over it.
Oh, absolutely.
There would be like they would probably dedicate a whole like legion of priests to study the fucking thing. It wouldn't be a group of 20 nuns that they wouldn't notice when they all died.
For months.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't understand that part of it makes no sense to me at all.
It's the ultimate Christ MacGuffin.
Right. Again, like I understand, like, it could be the blood of Christ or whatever. And the second one, I think, does a better job with this. But like, yes. I think this guy was like, relic, what's holy? Jesus is holy.
Right.
Let's just have his blood. Okay.
Yep. Preserved.
Well, it should be like
952 years later.
Right. Like I was surprised it wasn't the Spear of Longinus because like literally every freaking movie that has any religious thing in it is the Spear of Longinus or the Lance of Longinus. Every single one.
Even Constantine.
Even Constantine. Hey, you know what I just watched the other day?
What?
The new Indiana Jones movie. You know what's in it? The Spear of Longinus. It's like everything. All these movies, like archaeology or religious movies, always has the Spear of Longinus. I don't know what the obsession with it is.
Yeah.
I know that Hitler was obsessed with it. He was trying to find it,
absolutely.
that's for sure. It was on his list of occult items he wanted.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not like it's not all of these locations like they say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's it.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you got for low point?
I mean, I completely agree with everything you said. And knowing what movie became before this, which was Annabelle Creation, we got no inclination of the nun that was an Annabelle Creation being in Romania, because that's where we got, oh yeah, I was in Romania. Here's my picture with me in Romania, and there's Valak behind her. Well, Valak wasn't out, and if she was, why wasn't she there in this movie? The nun from Annabelle Creation. So it's like they do these little Easter eggs, except they make no sense. Like, if Valak was out and about and is able to be in this alleyway, then, you would assume that the nun from the movie the prior year would be in this movie as well, at someone at the convent. Like, maybe she got called back to it at some point, but no. So just they're, once again, them playing fast and loose with their own rules in this movie. And while obviously, yes, a lot of people do this in franchises, they play fast and loose and retcon a bunch of stuff, they do it within a year or less of their own stuff. They'd be like, hey, I'm doing this, and keep just like a continuity list to do something. If they're making this big, all tied in universe, I understand they're trying to do the shared universe because of Marvel, but yeah, just be consistent a little bit, pay a little bit more attention to things.
Well, I mean, that's the problem when you don't have somebody whose job it is to make sure that these things fit together.
Yes.
Like, I mean, that's one thing that the Marvel Universe has a lot of, is they have a lot of people that make sure that stuff is consistent between movies.
Yes.
Like, you can't have, the Hulk in one movie die, and then in the next movie that comes out, he's totally fine. Like, you have to keep some level of consistency. And well, movies like this, especially franchises like this, they're not, they've made a lot of money overall, but, like, they don't make enough money where they have, like, a dedicated, like, universe person that makes sure they don't screw up things that happen.
Right.
So of course things are going to go wrong. And again, this movie and the second one, there's multiple things that happen that go against existing canon.
And how easily Valak was gotten rid of 2 years prior in Conjuring 2, to having to have the literal blood of Christ to stop Valak.
Right. I don't again, and how did they beat him? I mean, like, Conjuring 2, I mean, I really don't like that movie, but it was just the dumbest thing to me. It's like, how do you beat a demon? Oh, you get its name, then you have power over it.
Yes.
Well, how do you get the demon's name? You ask for it. You ask them what their name is and they give it to you? Like, what?
You don't think the Vatican would have this information?
Yeah, no shit. They would have books of names and they would hand it out to everybody. If you think a demon's around, just start calling out these names.
Alan A. Arthur. No, not you.
Right.
Beelzebub B. Brown. No, not you.
Right. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? Just ask them their name, and it was so stupid.
Well, it's funny because it's almost the Rogue One syndrome of Vader that we got. Is he went, we end Rogue One with like this awesome, powerful thing of Vader, and then next thing we see him in, he's like casually escorting stormtroopers through a hallway in A New Hope, like badass, like, oh shit, to and this is what happened.
I don't know if that's the right word. He did strangle a guy to death within like 30 seconds of that.
But you know what I mean, though? Like, you set up like this, how badass Valak really is, But 2 years prior, the Valak's easily defeated by Lorraine Warren with nothing.
And with no
within
casualties.
30 seconds.
With no casualties whatsoever, even though she wiped out an entire convent that
Yes.
knew of their existence.
Yes. But Lorraine Warren was able to just go, I know your name, Valak. See ya, and you're done.
Right.
So that, I think it suffers from that, at that point. So, I know. So our out of 10s this week are self-locking doors. How many self-locking doors out of 10 would you give this movie? I will go ahead and let me look back at my notes from previous ones. This is definitely a better one, so I will go ahead and go with 6 self-locking doors.
6? Really? 6?
Well, I'm looking back at what I scored previous stuff, and I agree this is better, and my highest one on the other side was 5. So I will go to 6. How about you?
Yeah, no, again, it's better. I will do 4.
4?
4 self-locking doors out of 10.
Yes, because as we said earlier, every door in this universe closes and is immediately locked. Instantaneously. So, all right. Next, I think I'm next up here and I'm going to say this as the widest person I am, the Curse of La Llorona. I can't roll.
Llorona. You don't have to roll anything. It's yo. 2 L's is a Y. So it's La Llorona. To say it like that. Like, yo, coach, put me in. Yo.
You think with my 6 years of Spanish, I'd be able to say it right. Llorona. So this takes place it starts off in 1673, so 300 years before the main part of this story. And we do get subtitles, which is nice, of a family playing together in a field. A mother, is she still wearing her gown at this point?
No, not yet. At this point, she's just dressed like a normal, I don't know, field dancing lady. Like the veil and the dress is not on her until the water.
Okay, so that makes sense. So, yeah, he was given a necklace. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna treasure this forever. I love you, Mom." And they just go out playing. And then later she hears like some, I guess, screaming, and sees her mother now dressed in the bridal gown and veil, drown his brother in the stream, and then she catches him and drowns him too. And then 300 years later, the year 1973, and we are introduced to Lynn Carlini's character named Anna, who is a social child protective services social worker, right? She's we get, I think we get a little backstory that she is, a single mom. We see her trying to get her kids on the school bus by herself before she has to go to work. She can't. Her son's shoes are kind of like torn up, so she like duct tapes them together, and she gets to work and she's like, "Hey, we need to give some of your cases over to whatever her name is. Let's call her Karen."
Donna.
Because she has more free time outside of work because she doesn't have the responsibilities of being a mom. And, she's like, "Well, that's bullshit. I'm doing my job. I do it well." She's like, "Oh, I have this case here." Like, I know her. I've been her caseworker for 4 years. Which, 4 years is a long time to be on someone's radar. I'm saying that right now.
Well, again, we don't know. They don't give us her exact position. No. So we don't know if she's like, Child Protective Services or not. She might be just a social worker.
Yeah. Anyway, they get a call like, oh, her kids have been truant, which is what? How many days? Not show, no call, no shows at school, like 3 or 4.
Truant just means you didn't show up.
Okay.
There's no like specified length.
Okay.
If you don't go to school for 1 day, you're technically truant.
Well, whatever the past that this mother had, like, oh, we gotta go check on it. Like, you're bringing a cop. Oh, I know her. Like, that's the rules. You're taking a cop with you. Sorry. And the cop kind of knew her husband because her deceased husband was a cop. It's like, you wouldn't be doing this. Your husband wouldn't be doing this by yourself. Yeah, he would. No, he would be following the rules. Anyway, she goes in there, she talks to the mom. She's like, your kids haven't been here. Then the cop kind of bursts in there a little bit just because, she hears something from behind a locked door and the mother starts to attack her and she gets tackled by the cop and taken away. And she opens the door and her 2 sons are in there who, are afraid. They don't really say of what. They say her, and they assume to be the mom. They have like burn marks over their arms and, go get examined at the hospital. Like you're being taken in or something's clearly wrong. Who knows how long you've been in there. So anyway, we follow them. They get checked up. Like, yeah, there's this bad stuff going on. And they go to the hospital and they're staying at the hospital and all of a sudden they hear what? I don't remember what he saw, a whisper or something being called to him. As that eventually the kids just go out into the hospital hallway and are taken by La Llorona. And like, oh, okay. Then Anna gets a phone call in the middle of the night saying, hey, we found the boys. They're dead. They're drowned in the river. She drives out there, which I don't know if a caseworker would necessarily go and do. Maybe it was just to identify the boys. I don't know.
I mean, if she visited him that day,
yeah,
she may know, the recent history of what's going on.
Right. Anyway, so she brings her kids there because she's a single mom, doesn't want to leave them in the house overnight by themselves, which is perfectly acceptable. A lot of parents would do stuff like that, especially single parents. They go there, and then while she's out, she's like, "Hey, stay in the car. Don't get out for anything." The boy kind of wanders out because he sees shadows. He goes through like an alleyway and starts getting attacked by La Llorona, and he starts freaking out. Doors keep opening and closing by themselves. And so I think the mom shows up because she was let out, right? Or did she escape?
I don't think they arrested her at all.
Okay. They just detained her and took her kids.
Or maybe. I mean, again, it's like they have no like evidence that she did anything criminal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. I don't think it was necessary to put her in jail. But even if they did, they would have probably had to release her for lack of evidence.
Right. And then, the mom's there and she's like, hey, you did this. You caused this to happen. You killed my boys by taking them away. I was protecting them. And, tells her that's, La Llorona. And, yeah, so I think the son is grabbed in the alleyway and gets the burn, that same burns that we saw on 2 boys that had just died. Anyway, next day, spooky stuff starts happening in the house. They start seeing shadows, playing games. The daughter also gets attacked and gets the same burns. And there's this thing where like the daughter's taking a bath and she has her mom call wash her hair, and she submerses herself in the water to wash her hair, but it's just a routine that she has with her mom that does come into play later on into the movie.
Well, it's a weird routine that the mom holds her head underwater for like a full 10 seconds.
I agree. Yeah. So anyway, now the mom is arrested, and detained, and somehow Anna's able to go in there and talk to her, and he's like, you did this, it's your fault. I was protecting them. This is where she tells her, she's like, I asked her to, uh, go after your kids to save mine.
I don't know, but I don't know when else, because we don't see her again for a while.
I think this is the time where she tells her.
I'm pretty sure, because I don't know. I don't remember any other scenes that she was in besides this one and then the one further down.
Yeah. And because, I think eventually it's seen that her kids have the same bruises and marks, and then, Donna shows up at her house to do this. Hey, this is a visit. Your kids are showing symptoms of abuse. We're here to investigate. I think her husband's ex-partner was there as the cop on duty because because he knows her. He's like, hey, you have to leave the house. This is the routine. She's like, I didn't hurt my kids. Like, I know, but you can't be in here. He's like, yeah, they don't know how they got these marks. I think they have dinner together too at some point.
The dinner is before that.
Before that, yeah. That's how we got introduced to him.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, it's like, hey, we don't see anything weird, so it's fine for right now, but we have a case there, just know this. Anyway, the routine happens. The boy is telling his mom about what happened, what he's been seeing, the woman. Because I think the other boy's mother asked, like, did they hear her crying yet? And stuff like that. Anyway, the bath time routine happens again. The daughter, thinks it's a mom that's helping her down there, and then it's Laurana's hands, keep her down there. Eventually they're able to get her out of there, and, the mom sees her too, because she comes out of the bathtub, and she also gets grabbed, and the same burns on her hands from the fingertips. So she goes to her local priest, which happens to be the priest from Annabelle. Everything takes place in this Connecticut area, I believe. It's like, hey, I ran the evil once, and this is just like a couple of months ago that he ran into Annabelle.
Well, I mean, it's 73. It was Annabelle was in the 60s.
Okay, you're right. But he's like, I don't deal with that anymore. You need to go see this other guy. Would you say
this is? I'll bring up this scene later, but he specifically says, like, we don't usually get involved in stuff like this. If you really want us to, I could talk to the church about it, but I mean, we're talking weeks.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, they're even if they do send somebody, it won't be for weeks.
Right.
And even then, it's a whole process. Like, you don't want to deal with that. Here, go talk to this guy.
Yeah. Which I'm surprised he didn't mention the Warrens.
Yeah, I mean, especially since he mentioned them before,
right?
In the Annabelle movies.
Yes.
But no, at least he's a consistent character.
Oh yeah.
I'll get into this. I'll get into it later. But he's a very consistent character. But and then he exits the film at that point.
Yeah, it's like, okay, here's your tie into the Conjuring world,
and then he's gone immediately.
Right. He's like, essentially go see this brujo. Ex priest now turned into like a shaman, I would say.
He practices Santeria.
No. Isn't that a brujo?
Oh, brujo is just Spanish for witch.
A male witch, but yes.
Sorry, a warlock. The Spanish, yes. The O at the end means male, the A at the end means female. So you can have the same word mean male or female depending on the vowel at the end.
Yeah.
So he's a male witch, so a warlock.
Yes. To talk about the stuff, he's like, I heard it's, I was told it's La Llorona. It's like, oh yeah, that's a big, every kid hears about that in a Hispanic family. Like, oh, don't piss off your parents; she might drown you. So he agrees to help take the case. He goes there, does his typical lighting of sage. They roll eggs all around their doorways and entryways. He's like, hey, if the more blood the bigger the evil, and it's like black when he cracks it open.
The eggs are very big in Santeria.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like almost everything involves fucking eggs in some way.
Right. And she's like, oh, I saw this on Johnny Carson, haha. And then he starts spinning. Like, did you see that, Johnny Carson? He's like, oh shit, there's major evil here.
Well, and then he goes,
explode.
Ta-da!
Yeah. So anyways, like, yeah. So I'm just gonna stay here. We're gonna take care of this together. He brings out his cross, which is made from the fire trees, I believe.
Yeah, some kind of fire tree in Mexico.
Yeah, that were witnesses of the drowning of the original case of La Llorona.
Yeah, so 300 years ago. Somehow they have power over her.
Yes, because they witnessed it.
Right.
He also has, I would call it, juju dust. Right?
Juju dust.
It's an old juju dust is. I mean, obviously it's not voodoo, but voodoo is like it's the black powder you put over windows and doorways, like you would salt to create that seal. We do find it's the seeds of the firewood trees, but it's still just like a barrier from the entry points to get into the house.
Right.
Which she's already, in the house, but somehow they knocked her out there. He uses the entire family as bays. Like, as long as the fires are lit, you're fine. And like all go out at once. They kick her out, and then we have, which I'm gonna say this right now, the dumbest thing over a stupid doll at this point in time, where the kid breaks the seal, the line. La Llorona comes back. They start kind of fling, and then the mother of the two boys is like, "Hey, I'm here now too. I'm making sure that she takes your kids, so mine come back to me." She shoots the ex-priest. The kids go up into the attic, and big scene up there, boxes moving around, them being trapped. She sees herself, she turns back to a human after seeing how afraid the kids were, and then she still sees herself in the mirror, and then she freaks out. The priest goes up there, after being shot, and starts to, try to fight with her. The mom goes up there. He's like, "No, I can't do this." Tosses her the cross, and as you do with all ghosts, you then proceed to stab the ghost with the firewood fire tree cross. And, she is destroyed. Oh, I also mentioned that, at one point, they're going to drown her, and they bless the entire pool. But yeah, and then she's destroyed, and then the priest leaves, and we see Anna looking at a puddle, and she walks away, but her image is still looking back at us in the reflection of the puddle, leaving a maybe ambiguous ending. The end. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. Now for me, this was my first time seeing this movie. Because by the time this movie came out, which was 2019, I believe, I was completely and utterly done with the Conjuring universe. I was done before Annabelle creation, and so I skipped this one. So
I was done in 2012.
I know. Before it even started. But I there's, as Salem here can attest, when you try to find this movie, there are so many movies about La Llorona. Wouldn't you agree?
There is. Yeah. I mean, I don't, again, I was looking for which one to watch, and I don't even know. I had to look it up, because I looked up La Llorona, and it was I don't know, at least 10 movies. Like the entire screen of results filled up with the same, they all look the same. I'm like, I don't know which one.
Yeah. And to me, this is, this curse is a Hispanic thing. It's like they're their story of like Bloody Mary to us. And, you know, my first thought of this movie was this is as generic as like Urban Legends 3 Bloody Mary type deal where there's like all of a sudden this huge influx of 10 of the same subject matters on the same movie. And I couldn't tell you if this was any better or worse than any of the other ones that deal with, you know, the woman in white drowning her kids. What was your first thought on this?
I mean, it was pretty typical. I mean, I don't, you know, it's your typical like generic horror movie starring some random folklore character that's the same. I mean, they all follow the same formula.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, I wasn't impressed either way. I mean, again, also, this movie is also better than all the other Conjuring movies.
Right. And I mean, and this is interesting because this is, you know, an urban legend that they're dealing with more so than just these creations that the Warrens came up with. So the Warrens didn't come up with this curse. This has been in folklore and urban legends for a very long time. So it's nice to me to see that a fresh piece of it that actually had nothing to do with the Warrens in any way, shape, or form. So that is one of my highlights, is that we don't get the Warrens. Their names aren't even mentioned, and that's great. That they are not involved.
Now that I think about it, I wonder if like the Nun and Valak ever like actually came up in Ed and Lorraine's like nonsense.
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't read enough of it to know.
Right.
As I get angry whenever I read it.
Right. So, and that's what I think kind of set these apart from the Conjuring universe, is these aren't notable cases of the Warrens. So maybe that's why they're better. You know, that it's able to stand by itself. There's not all that bullshit to get through for these movies. Highlights for me, I think the acting was pretty decent. You know, I like Lynn Carlini a lot. And it I think it did okay for what it was. Like I said, just a generic haunting, but I don't think of other highlights. What are your highlights?
Highlight number one, they played Curtis Mayfield in the opening of the movie. Well, not obviously not the 1693 version, but you know, when the kids were getting ready for school, they played Curtis Mayfield, and they very rarely play Curtis Mayfield and stuff. I was very happy.
What else?
The only other thing I like really stands out that I really like is I really like when you know, like people are like, yeah, I'm Christian. Sure. I believe in the church. Sure. And then they still hold on to their old timey beliefs. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like so many cultures do that. Even the major cultures that are big, you know, Catholic people do it. The Irish do the same thing. You know, as they have like their old beliefs, like their old world beliefs, and they can't let them go. Even though the church is explicitly against this.
Yes.
But they have to kind of turn a blind eye to a lot of things, because if they said, like, you know, you're kicked out of the church if you do this stuff, they'd be kicking out a lot.
Oh yeah, it's. I think it's, you see that in Game of Thrones. Yeah, this is for the old gods and the new. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah, it's just interesting to me that even after all this time, this stuff, this old world, you know, pagan stuff, still holds on, even though they hold the, you know, their Christian beliefs in one hand, and they hold these old world beliefs in the other hand, even though they can be like totally, you know, out of sync with each other, but they still believe in both. I always find that very, very interesting.
Oh yeah. Which, as Americans, we don't really do that.
I mean, they do, but it's more like, yeah, I'm in the church, but I do whatever the hell I want to do anyway.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the church tells you, like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And then everybody just does that anyway. But they still go on about how, how great they are because they follow all the rules of the church when in reality they don't follow any. But that's the way that they do it. They don't have any. Well, we're not old enough as a country to have our own culture yet, really.
True.
So that's what they. Yeah, they're making their own culture as just being asshats that do whatever the hell they want anyway, which is a very American thing to do.
That is our culture. We were old enough to have that culture.
Exactly.
Any other highlights for you?
No, that's it, buddy. What do you got?
That's all I got for highlights. I'll go into my low points. The whoever was in charge of the time period of this movie didn't take notes from the other movies, because I don't feel like this really screamed 1973 to me, like, as much as the other movies did. You know what I mean? Her hairstyle and his hairstyle didn't seem very on point. The clothes didn't really seem that different either. You could have said this took place in 2003. I probably would have believed you. You know,
With the rotary phone?
my parents still had one in 2003. But I mean, it just didn't seem like it didn't have the same feel as like Annabelle did, where you can, that was late 60s, early 70s feel. It didn't feel as in your face, I guess is a better way of putting it.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I really noticed that was 70s was like the cars.
Yeah.
And then Curtis Mayfield in the beginning. But that was it. That was the only real like song that they played. Was Curtis Mayfield in the beginning. That was it.
Right. And I know we discussed a little bit, while her kids are half Hispanic, it felt very weird to have Linda Carlini being the main person in this movie.
Okay. Have we learned nothing from all the Italian horror movies that we watched? Have you learned nothing from all the spaghetti westerns that exist out there?
Yeah.
Italian people can play Latina people. That's just the way it works. They have very similar features. They could go back and forth and play each other, and they do often.
Yes.
Like spaghetti westerns. That was like when you had a guy that looked very Italian. You would just say, "Oh, he's from Mexico." That was it. That was their whole explanation. Again, they do have similar features, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what they did. So, yeah, she's Italian, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Good enough.
Like I said, the low points, it's such a generic ghost story. And the fact that you're able to stab a ghost through the heart with a cross.
Well, I mean, she was pretty physical. She was burning people's hands. She was holding them underwater. So, I mean, she was a physical being.
Yeah. You think she could have dissipated before she got stabbed?
Well, it's just like in D&D. You can't hit the ghost. All your weapons go straight through it unless it's magical. And that cross is apparently the only magical thing that they had.
For, because they bore witness to the drownings.
Exactly.
Yes. What are your low points?
Okay. The priest is going to be two of them. Now, the first one is one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard somebody say in a movie. Okay? He hands her a rosary.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "Oh, that's okay. I'm not really religious." And he says, I quote, "You don't have to be religious to have faith." Now, that is true. You can have faith in many things that is not religion. But you're handing her a fucking rosary. What are you, fucking stupid? Like, of course, you're trying to sucker her into the, like using her, being upset at this situation. Like, here, use this rosary. It helped me. Oh, I'm not religious. No, thanks. Oh, you don't have to be religious to have faith. To have faith that this rosary is going to do something? Yes, I do. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Just stupid. Just the stupidest statement. I had to pause. Like, are you kidding me?
I mean, yes, you do have to have faith to have power in Christian belief.
Right. Again, It's like, of course, yeah, you can have faith in many other things, right? But like,
Yes.
yeah, in order to have faith that this rosary is going to do anything, you have to believe in the power of the rosary. And she's trying to tell you she doesn't have that, and you're telling her that, whatever. And the second thing is, like, dude, he abandoned her quick. Again, and in Annabelle, again, he abandoned them very fast too, but at least he tried then, right?
Yeah.
He tried to bring the doll back to the church. He got hit and he was like, I'm out. he said he was going to help them. He said he was going to bring them help and all that kind of stuff. He's like, nope, I'm in the hospital. This is your problem. I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm withdrawing all my church support. And he did the same thing this time. Oh, we have something genuine here. Something that, oh, look, this is a real bad thing that's happening. Should I help them? No. Nope. And again, I'm going to actively discourage this lady to asking the church for help again by saying, there's nothing I can do. Oh, I mean, I can ask the church to do something, but we're talking weeks. And even if they do something, yeah, like, I mean, do you think you can last weeks? And she's like, no. Yeah, see? Don't ask the church for help because we can't help you. You got to figure something else out. Like, what an asshole. I mean, the guy was a priest. Again, at least he's consistent among these movies. Like, in the first one, he was like, yeah, screw you guys. I got hurt. I'm out.
Yep.
And in the second one, he's like, okay, I already got hurt once. I'm not going to get hurt this time. I'm out already.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you to the creepy guy that spins eggs all over the walls. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't believe how shitty that guy was. Now, the other thing I have is that the child acting was not great.
Oh, no, it was awful.
It was very bad. And again, if you have movies that hinge on moments that require child actors to really sell those moments, just don't. Just don't do that. You know what I mean? It's like children are so inconsistent and they're kids. I'm not trying to like bang on kids like they should be better actors. No, they're kids. You know what I mean? Some of them can be good. Some of them can be good in some situations, but they need a lot of direction. They need a lot of help. They need, they need to get prepped and stuff like that. Like, they don't have the skill that an experienced actor has. So, like, if you're writing a screenplay that relies on children selling, like, emotional moments for you, don't do that. Just change it to someone else, please. You can have children in a movie. I'm not saying don't have children. I wish there was more movies without children, for sure. But that's just me. But you can easily take these emotional moments that you're trying to sell on children and just put them on adults so that you can actually act through the situation. You know what I mean? Children should be secondary emotional carriages. They should not be any primary vehicle for emotions.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair.
But they do that. All these stupid movies. There's so many things. Did you ever watch Sons of Anarchy?
No.
Towards the end, it started getting not great. But there was like the last season, or maybe it was the second to last season. I don't remember. They all fade together. Like, it was a very, very emotional moment that they hinged on a child actor. And we're not talking a 10-year-old child actor. We're talking like a 4-year-old child actor. Okay. And of course the scene was horrible. It didn't make sense. It was like the acting was so bad. Like, all these people are acting like this, most, emotional thing happened. And the kid's just like, it was very, very bad. And I was like, I don't know why you would do that. Why would you hinge this moment on a 4-year-old child? Like, you can write it better than that. You don't need a child to blow people away in order to sell your story. Just put it on a real actor who's paid to do it.
Yeah. That's fair. Any other little points for you?
None that I'm going to bring up right now, no.
Okay, so why don't you go first? How many self-locking doors out of 10 do you give this movie?
Again, overall, 3.5. I'll give it a 3.5 self-locking doors up.
Yeah, I mean it's not great, But in this franchise, yes.
Yeah. In this franchise, it is definitely top 3 for sure.
Oh yeah. I will go down to 5.25. Self-locking doors. So, yeah, it was interesting. Am I ever going to watch this again? No. I'm not.
No. You got to watch all the other ones, though. You should have a La Llorona special. You watch like 12.
Maybe when we get to episode 1000, we'll go ahead and just...
La Llorona special.
Especial.
Oh, there you go. See? Look at you. Yeah. Those years of Spanish are paying off.
I know, right? All that work. All right. Why don't you bring us through the last? We'll tag team this last movie here.
Yeah. So Nun II just came out.
Spoiler warning again.
Yeah, just came out. So if you're that interested in the Nun II story, go watch it first and then come back.
Yes.
Now the Nun II opens up with the same nun that Sister Irene that survived the first one has now been moved to a convent in France.
Yes.
And she's like, kind of like just going through her nunly duties. And we see that there's like the events of things that happen in the first Nun are like legendary.
I think it's 4 years later, so I think it's not like 1956.
Yeah. So they're like legendary to what like all the nuns are kind of gossiping about it, and they're talking about like, oh, what happened to her afterwards? And like, oh, she disappeared or whatever. Even though
I'll say this, they told it like a ghost story.
Yeah, they're a bunch of nuns, right? So they're gonna gossip about something.
Yeah,
got nothing else to do. So she's kind of less, hiding, staying low key. And she's got a friend. What was her name? I don't know. I'll just call her Mississippi because she was from Mississippi.
That was her. That was her character. She's from Mississippi.
Yeah, that was her character. She's from Mississippi.
Yep.
So like she's like her friend, kind of. She kind of sort of finds out that that was her. That the stories were real and that was her. When like a bishop guy comes to call.
Yeah.
And the bishop guy is like, oh yeah, we got some clergy suicides. You need to go check that out.
Across Europe, from Romania going west.
Yeah. Going west, there's like nuns and priests and stuff, dying and committing suicide. There was one priest that just like self-immolated.
we focus on him, his altar boy, and he just gets essentially strung up in the church and just gets burnt to holy hell.
Right, it is. Yeah, it gets burnt up. And so they're like, yeah, you need to go check this stuff out. She's like, oh, I'm just a nun. Why don't you call Father Burke? Father Burke's dead. He died of cholera.
AKA, he didn't want to come back.
Yeah, he did not want to come back for this movie. He asked for too much money. Therefore, he died of cholera.
Right.
So she's like, well, I can't do that. They're like, well, too bad, because you are. Like, we're your boss. We're telling you where to go.
What do you mean, no?
Yeah. So she's like, okay, so I have to go to this other place in it was Hungary, right? Yeah, they're going to the first place they went to was in Hungary, because that's where the priest burned it.
Yes.
So they go there. Well, she goes there. She tries to go there by herself. Mississippi sneaks on board the train and comes with her. Mississippi has not yet taken her vows. She's just like how Sister Irene was in the first movie. So they're kind of like partners in crime.
Yeah.
So they get to Hungary. They try to find their reservation. That of course, the reservation can't be found. So she goes wandering the streets, and of course, there's like the interesting kind of book stand scene where like all the magazines turn pages, and it turns into like the nun.
Right.
And the nun comes out and like knocks her out. And at this point, we don't really know if it's that really happened or if it's just a vision. But knowing her, it's probably just a vision of things.
Right.
So anyway, so things start happening to where she knows that the nun was there. And then she also finds out that, she has a vision that Maurice needs her help.
Yes.
In some way.
Right. And we are introduced to Maurice and where he's at in France. He's working as a custodian.
Yeah. I see like I would say like general handyman.
Yeah.
He seems to be like the general handyman for like a boarding school for girls.
Right.
And there's like a kind of like a teacher that he's kind of sweet on. And then there's like
makes nice with her daughter just to get probably onto the mom's good side.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, so there's like a bunch of girl stuff there. There's like, of course, the mean girl clique that picks on the girl that's the teacher's daughter.
Well, they also pick on the mother superior by getting cockroaches and put them into her room.
Yes, they do. But of course, she's like, she's the headmistress. She's not. It's not a religious school anymore. It's just a boarding school.
But there is a chapel that was boarded up because
it was a convent or monastery or whatever. But then it was sold. That they talk about it later. It was sold to a bunch of monks that were using it to make wine, and then they sold it to make a school.
Yeah.
But the wine, they left the wine behind.
And the chapel was closed because the headmistress' son died there from a bombing.
Well, yeah. Now, see, that is okay, because they don't specify where that school is, right? If it's inside of a city, if it's inside of a city that was bombed, sure, it get bombed. But I'm just saying, the Romanian one, they specifically say that it was in the middle of nowhere, to the point where no cars can get there, and you have to take horses to get there, and even then you have to walk like miles on foot to get to it. Like, it's ridiculous that they would bomb out there anyway.
Yes.
So that's all going on. We get introduced to all those characters on that side. We go back to Sister Irene. Sister Irene has a vision of a boy, and we find out that a boy was present when the priest got caught on fire.
His altar boy.
Yeah, that's one of the visions that she saw running through the woods, was she was chasing after the boy, who wasn't really there. But anyway, later on, the boy does bring back the rosary that the priest was holding when he burned up.
Yep.
For whatever reason, he took it. And he gives it back to them, and they're looking at the rosary, and they find like this symbol on the rosary. They don't know what it means. So Sister Irene has a friend that works in the archives of the Catholic archives, which is pretty cool. I didn't know that existed. Apparently it's in France. So you go there, and they're like, she talks to her friend, who's like this old kind of librarian priest kind of guy.
Historian, yeah.
Yeah. So they show him the symbol, and he looks through, and he's like, oh, look, it's the symbol of the descendants of the Saint Lucy, who's the patron saint of the blind.
Yes.
And then she got her eyes removed. Well, she was tried to be burned, because the pagans didn't like her Christianity. So they tried to burn her. Yeah, they tried to burn her. She wouldn't burn, so then they took her down and then stabbed her eyes out.
Yep.
But somebody saved her eyes, and I guess, she magically became a priest or a saint in that moment, and the eyes had magic powers.
Yes.
So the descendants, they said they got spread all over the globe. Hint, hint.
Uh-huh.
And that the actual eyes were given to this one guy, and that guy supposedly hid them. And he left clues for people of the bloodline to find it later on, if they need it. So they're researching that, and they're like, okay, so that's what's going on. She sees the container that the eyes are actually in one of her visions. And then they're trying to figure out, like, okay, so we know, like, what's in this town. Like, we know, like, this priest, we found the connection between all these people that died. They were all members of this family.
Right.
They all had this symbol. They were all descendants of St. Lucy in some way, shape, or form. And so they're moving. So basically, it looks like Valak is moving through the country, going west, hitting all of these family members, trying to find this relic. So basically, according to the records, they find out that the last, person who supposedly had the eyes lived in this town, which is, of course, the same town that Maurice Frenchie is now in.
Yep.
And that's how they find out, okay, it's a school now, we need to go there. So they get a car and they drive straight there because it's in France. So they get there, and like as they're driving, that's when like the shit hits the fan at the school.
Oh yeah.
So like Maurice is like sleepwalking, I guess. And the headmistress catches him like, trying to get into the chapel, and she wakes him up and he kind of panics and then runs back and I don't know what happens, but apparently whatever evil is there has now been awoken.
Yes.
And there was like some kind of evil goat man that was chasing the girls around in the school building. And then there's actually like, the nun was in the actual chapel itself. And anyway, they're chasing everybody all over the place. School teacher and the girl, and Maurice is even off and on involved in this. But anyway, so they're all running around, and of course the nuns get there, and the librarian guy comes with them too.
Yes.
But then he kind of just goes away.
Yep.
Like he was
like, nope.
there. Like
nope, I'm done.
Yeah, there was a couple of scenes where they're talking to him at that location, and then he's just not there anymore. But so yeah, so they basically meet up as this stuff is happening. There's scenes of the zombie headmistress, because she ended up getting killed by the Valak in the chapel. So she turns into a zombie with cockroaches all over, like chasing the kids. There's this goat man monster chasing the kids all around. They're trying to find the location of the relic while also running away from these monsters and stuff. They eventually find out there was like this game the girls were playing where like this certain like goat stained glass window thing, like a certain time of day when light shined through the goat's eye, it looks like the devil's eye, like it glowed red, and like you couldn't look away. But whatever, they basically figure out that glowing red eye is like a laser that shows them the location where the eyes are that they have to dig.
They're digging in the wrong spot. Oh wait, sorry, wrong movie.
Yeah,
it is not.
So yeah, so like as
the Lost Ark,
right? Yeah, so as everybody's like running around and stuff, she's digging up this relic.
Yes.
And then she digs up the relic, and they basically, the nun comes out and is chasing, her, and then the relic falls out of her hands and goes to the little girl. The little girl runs up in the bell tower, and then Maurice is now possessed, like full on possessed. And he's chasing her around. But anyway, lots of chasing and stuff going on. Basically, this big showdown happens in the big winery.
Yes. Well, the Valak gets the eyes.
Well, but they're fighting back and forth. Like they're using the power to like knock her out, and they use the power enough to where they think that they killed her. And then as they go over to like go, oh, is she really dead? She like does the whole fake dead thing and then grabs it out of her hand.
Right.
And then because she's taller than everybody, she just holds it above their head.
Yeah.
And then like burns it up and then somehow absorbs its power. And then becomes like super powerful, and then
super Valak.
Yeah. And then starts doing like telekinesis explosion stuff everywhere.
She becomes Dark Phoenix, essentially.
Right. Yeah. So then Sister Irene gets the great idea of, oh yeah, like remember if you say the certain prayer, like the wine turns to Jesus's blood. So I'm just gonna do that prayer, and then they do the prayer, and then all the blood, the wine that was everywhere is now Jesus' blood, and it sprays all over Valak, and then she explodes and
dies. Yeah. Yep. At some point, Irene is lifted and was going to be burnt alive, but she also doesn't burn. I'm just looking at this right now. It's because she is a descendant of Saint Lucy as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yep. I mean, I got that. That's why she has the visions or whatever, is because she has the saint blood or whatever.
And Valak is banished to hell, never to be seen again.
Right. Except for like, what, a couple of years later?
16 years later, where Maurice is somehow still possessed, and they have, film footage of him being exorcised.
Yeah, maybe the third one will wrap it all up.
Poor guy.
I don't know, but yeah, and then we get a mid-credit scene of the Warrens getting a call about a new case.
Yep.
So close. We were so close.
Oh yeah, very close.
And then that's it. It's over.
Yep. Like I said, the time recording, we had just seen this 2 days ago, and the movie came out 3 days ago. So what was your first thought? We didn't get to discuss it like we normally do when we leave a theater.
Again, I mean, it was interesting. I mean, I'll kind of go into my high points.
Yeah.
Basically, like, one, I felt like there was actually something to be scared of in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm like that there was like real thing. Like before, it's usually like La Llorona, obviously there was. The Nun, obviously there was. I would say like in Annabelle and in the Conjuring movie, there's not really anything to be afraid of. It's like it possesses other people. But there's no like monster to be scared of. It's just like closing doors and people being scared of nothing.
Yeah.
But that's spooky, I guess. Spooky enough to be rated R.
Rated R for scary scenes.
Yeah, but yeah, this one there was like very real danger. Like,
oh yeah,
like the goat man was like, he was knocking down doors and stuff. Like he existed. Like that was not a figment. Like multiple people saw him physically.
Yes,
and he was like banging stuff down. But again, and he didn't just disappear and teleport around. Like he was a real monster that they had to like stay vigilant against.
Right.
Again,
yeah, he was a physical presence.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like it was interesting that basically the first movie they did that, where it's like there's not a ghost presence, like a real physical presence that you need to be scared of.
Right.
And like how Maurice was like the antagonist for most of the time. Again, he was a physical person that you can be afraid of. He wasn't teleporting around, through the darkness or whatever these monsters normally do. He wasn't doing it.
Right.
I thought that was pretty cool. And I also liked the just the kind of like churchy mystery. I mean, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of that, but there was enough to make it interesting. She was like kind of like a nun detective.
Yeah.
Finding out clues, and then finding out what the connections between the bodies were, and then again, it was just interesting and fun to have a little bit of detective stuff.
Yeah. I agree with that. This is like, we discussed lore a lot here, and Annabelle's creations lore was abysmal at best.
Yeah.
But Valak's lore is really fleshed out well. The Valak's ending that we see is so far in the Conjuring universe was awful with the Conjuring 2, but how Valak came to be, the idea of either Valak able to get possession of St. Lucy's eyes, so that MacGuffin's gone.
Yeah,
that
toast.
Yeah. And yeah, I think the acting was great for the most part. I didn't like Mississippi acting. I don't think it seemed really out of place. It didn't. Her mannerisms, I'd say, were not 1956.
No, I mean, and everybody else was playing up to the time period. I felt.
Yes. I don't feel I've seen her in other things, and she's the same person in every movie she's in. So time period piece, not seemingly the best spot for her.
Yeah, but I mean, you're also, okay, this movie was made in 2023, and
right.
You're in 1956 France.
Yes.
You got to bring in some diversity from somewhere. You know what I mean? Because otherwise it's going to be all white people. You got to bring something in.
Like she has like a 2023 American accent to them.
I know.
A deep Southern accent. absolutely. Like, but it looks like she's just got off of, like, she's smoking cigarette like she was on TikTok recently.
Yeah.
And I like, Maurice. Like, his good Maurice versus bad Maurice remind me a bit, especially because he had, like, the black fumes around his eyes, remind me a bit of Eddie Brock. Of being, trying to control Venom. That, like, he almost had that splitness of him. And I think he changed his mannerisms really well to reflect that, of the good versus possessed Maurice.
Yeah, no, that's fair though. I thought everybody did a good job on that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, while I'm pretty sure Sister Irene is a made up character for these movies, it's it's not Ed and Lorraine Warren solving these mysteries. This is like bigger things that, like, seals are broken and there's, a hunt for artifacts or relics, and it makes a better world building without Ed and Lorraine.
Right. Like I said, I think it's, like I said, these movies are definitely more fun.
Yes.
Even though they're, arguably more religious, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But they're not religious with hucksters that, are who try to sell you a load of bullshit in real life, and in this movie universe they're like, superheroes.
Right. Even though
do all the shit that they say.
Even though in real life they were very opposed, like the church would be very opposed to them.
Yes.
For being the people they were. They are not the Christian Crusaders, I'm sorry. But why don't you go into your low points? I know you have something about Maurice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the low point is Ed and Lorraine Warren. We were so close. We were so close. The whole movie was over. The credits started. I was like, man, we got out of it without any flashbacks or flash forwards or, goofy scenes that, like we got out of this. We're clean. And then the only thing before that point was a minor little Easter egg of when the little girl, like, opens up a door and sees Valak. She's at the end of the Warren hallway.
Yes.
As she appeared in the beginning of The Conjuring 2. That was it. That was the only Easter egg. And if you didn't see The Conjuring 2 or know this universe, you would not have gotten it. It was a very obscure Easter egg.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, nice. So, like, you tie it into the universe without Ed and Lorraine. And then, of course, they fucking ruined it in that mid-credit scene. And then Ed and Lorraine fully show up. I was like, no! I wanted to yell it in the theater.
I think you could have. There wasn't many people.
I know I said we were so close. I know I said that. But
yes.
I wanted to speak, but I didn't. Okay, yeah, poor Father Burke. What did they say? He died of cholera. Like, why don't you just say he's not available or something? You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Right. Say you can't contact him or something. Like, at least leave it open for him to come back.
1956. It's hard to get a hold of people. Yes.
Right. Yeah. It's like nobody's got cell phones and shit. What if he went to some monastery in the middle of nowhere? Like, you can't get to him.
No, and something that he's dead to us, so he's
died of cholera. Like, wow, dude. I think that was a cheap guy. Poor Father Burke. Okay, and then the biggest one here. Now, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but watching the movie, I got the vibe that Maurice was more trying to court the daughter than he was the teacher. The teacher just felt like she was incidental. She didn't talk a whole lot. She didn't, like, get involved a whole lot. Even when they showed the date that they had, like, she made dinner for Maurice or they made dinner together or whatever, like, he's dancing with the daughter.
I mean, he does eventually dance with the mom.
Yeah, but but the scene opens of him dancing with the little girl. Like, there's multiple scenes of the other little girls calling him the girl's boyfriend. And he doesn't do anything to, like, stop that. You know, he doesn't like try to like clear the air or anything like that. It's just like left hanging there in every scene that they say it more than once.
Yes.
And again, it really feels like whoever wrote this, whoever filmed this was like trying to like hype up like the love between the girl and Maurice, and the mom was just there to like make it legal. That's the vibe I got from that. It was like very like unnerving. I don't know. I didn't like it.
I mean, I definitely see your point. Hands down, yes, it is like, but I know, that when you are trying to get into a relationship with someone that has a kid, yes, I know there are people that do try to win the kid over as well.
Oh yeah, no, but there's nothing wrong with that.
They took it too far though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It went too far. They put it in weird territory.
Yes.
So where it was like I don't know if he was just trying too hard, but I don't know, the vibe that you get and like the scenes that like are scenes that you should clarify what's going on, or at least something needs to be said of like, get the hell out of here. I'm not a pedophile or something, right?
Right.
Anything. Nothing like that happens. It just like anytime they say it just like hangs there in the air and then just they cut away. You know what I mean? Like they don't ever clarify it, and it's very weird.
Yeah, I mean, they could have made it less weird if they said in those moments it was Valak looking for a soul. Easy line.
Right. Or I don't know, it just was like, because he's obviously having like these fugue states, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like not in control of his body.
Yeah,
he doesn't know what's going on. And it kind of sort of feels like when he's in those weird fugue states, like something is happening with the daughter that he's not really aware of, that she is.
Right.
Because she's like making him gifts. Like, I think like she like weirdly misunderstands that they're like together. And I know that she's like trying to push it towards the mom, and like she's happy when he's with the mom, but I don't know. It's just a weird vibe in there.
Right.
I couldn't shake that vibe. I did not like it.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I will say to this point, at least that friendship relationship was not a MacGuffin to snap him out of the possession. I was concerned.
I was very surprised that it wasn't. I thought for sure it was going to be.
Oh, absolutely. Like that was the idea. Check out what's gone. Like, oh, he's going to see this bracelet. Like, oh, we are friends. The mom has it too. I'm snapping out of this. I'm free of it. No. And that's very surprising.
Yeah, there's a couple of scenes that I was for sure were going to be foreshadowing that went nowhere. Yeah. Like they had that weird scene of like that old lady nun that went outside to like start the generator for the lights.
Yeah.
And like she had to like kick it, and it was like wasn't working, and you saw like the lights flickering on and off. I was like, oh, this is for sure going to come up later.
Yeah.
Nope. Never came up again. What the hell was the point of that scene?
Zero. None.
Right. Like, what is it there? Why? It wasn't even at the same location where the attacks happened.
The generator didn't blow up, killing Valak or
right.
Maurice.
I was like, what is the point of this scene?
To let you know it's 1956 France.
I guess it was just, yeah, there's a few scenes there just like, I don't know, it's not bad. It's just like, what? Why?
Well, I think it led us to try to, as moviegoers, we try to look for this stuff like that, the foreshadowing. And we watch enough movies to try to call it out. And they did trick us. We were wrong. We both had that expectation. So maybe it was good filmmaking. Maybe it was just a loose thread, like the freaking Insidious universe. Right. I don't know which way to go for that. Well, yeah, I'm going my other point for me. Like I know this exists. I cannot stand mean girls that are just mean to be mean. Like I as you know, growing up, you and I were both bullied. I don't like it. Obviously, it happens.
I don't like it either. But I mean, you put all girls in a school, and there's going to be some friction there. There's going to be cliques that don't like each other. There's going to be people that get picked on. It's the same thing with all boys. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same thing with co-ed, I'm sure. I'm just saying it. I think it's a little worse when you have that single sex world that
Right.
you're in. I think it gets a little more amplified.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't say the cockroach scene.
Well, I was just trying to forget about it.
Anything else to add to this movie or this trilogy of movies before we go into our olives?
No.
All right. You want me to go first? You want to go first for our last self-locking doors?
I'll go first.
Okay.
This movie, I honestly think is probably the best of the entire universe so far.
Yes. Hands down.
Yeah. I mean, again, it had some fun elements. It had some fun, like, detective elements. It had some real, like, things to be afraid of. I mean, yes, there were closing and locking doors, but there was also goat men.
Oh, yeah.
and possessed guys and, like, actual beings, like, hurting you. So I will give this one 5 self-locking doors out of 10. Not a great movie, but definitely the best of this universe, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not upset I saw this movie. Which, I wasn't upset initially 10 years ago with the first Conjuring. And as the series progressed, I got more upset every time I watched one.
I was upset before I even watched it at all. I was upset when I heard about it.
But this took the idea of the first Nun and made it a solid follow-up entry. Annabelle just went downhill fast. Like, it just, like, dropped off. So yeah, I definitely think this is the best one in this universe. I don't have high expectations when we eventually cover Last Rites, probably on our 2024 year roundup when we get to it, because I'm not watching these again. But I will give it 7 self-locking doors out of 10. Let me just confirm that is the highest score I've given these. Yes, absolutely it is. So, why don't you take us home?
Okay. It's time for a palate cleanser. After conjuring demons and dolls for 3 long weeks, it honestly felt like longer than 3 weeks.
Yeah, it did.
These movies were hard to get through. Anyway, in our September spotlight, our September director spotlight, we'll be putting on our bear suits, checking for Paimon in all the corners, and seeing if we are afraid. We'll be looking at the works of Ari Aster with Hereditary, Midsommar, and Beau is Afraid.
Yes.
And remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to.
And this is Grayward saying, have you checked on the children?
This is Salem saying, long live the new flesh. Good night.